Okay, so this is my Aussie electrics setup. I have everything sort of controlled from here, which is the King's compact control box. Most of the King's gear is the cheapest on the market and it's not very difficult to set up. This whole control box is powered by a AGM battery, 120 amp hour, and it's all within this very small space. This is just what we're working with, so it's fit in here quite neatly. And the red is the positive side, black being the negative side. And the battery itself is charged with this 25 amp DCDC charger. We don't have a huge amount of draw on the setup because we only have the fridge, which is this one here, some USB ports. I've got some lights wired in, and this is some USB outlet and cigarette socket on the other side, which I've wired underneath just so we have charging at either side. And on the left here I've got a 500 watt inverter just so we can charge the laptop, because you can't get enough power from these 12 volt sockets to charge it up. And there's an isolator just up here, so if there's any fuse goals or any wires need to be added, removed, you can just isolate the entire battery from this control box just so you can safely make any changes. This down here, the charger is made quite well. It comes with a lot of cables, which I'll show you in a minute, and they are labelled for what their purpose is. This one in particular is for the split charge from the alternator of the car. So you can see your red positive, black negative. This wire is not in use because our car doesn't have a smart alternator, so you don't need this ignition wire, which basically turns the charger on when the ignition, so when the car is running, because in a smart alternator the voltage varies all the time, but it basically just acts as a smart voltage relay, this charger here. So it's actually not performing a very complex function, and yeah, it allows the charging from the car. I'll just quickly show you. This cable in the van runs through here under the carpet. A bit dirty, but it is what it is. And it runs up here through the firewall. Just tidy that up a little bit. Can't see it too well, but I had to drill some holes through the firewall, and that comes out the other side. Behind the battery, down the back here, can't get a great view of it just now, but the wire itself, this is your positive feed, and on these helpfully has a panel you can already screw into. So I just had to attach crimper ring terminal on. I think this is a 6mm for a 6 gauge wire, so that gets your positive. And the black wire is, probably can't see it, it's behind the windscreen cowl in here. There is a mounting bolt which is not used on this Peugeot Partner, and I basically just sanded it back, then tested with the multimeter from here whether or not it had voltage, and it did. So I've been able to ground it with a mountain bolt behind here and put some dielectric grease so it doesn't rust or anything. And this is fused, so I just screws a Midi fuse on close to the battery as we can get it, and then this obviously runs back to our charger. This is the folding solar panel I have. The charger, as I said, comes with lots of cables that tell you what they're for, and this green one is labelled for solar. And at King's you can buy these extension leads, so I think maybe 6 meters long. You just plug them in, they plug straight into your solar panel. And yeah, we're in Australia, so normally the sun, but today it's a bit grey. And that is the majority of the setup. Inside the battery here you can see I've got 2 fuses, one Midi fuse on this side for going to the control box. This fuse here is for the inverter, so it's fused as close to the battery as possible. These King's batteries come with M8 screws, so you need ring terminals with 8mm eyelets and some washers, but they do come with some washers, and then you just screw it all into the ring terminal here. But I've just covered it up with tape because this is also our storage bay for our clothes and whatnot, so I'm just keeping any open contacts, I guess, protected from anyone touching them. And I've got a small bus bar here, which I've just used to make it easier to manage the cables, because there's quite a lot of cables here. And the charger also comes with this little temperature sensor, so I imagine that diagnoses a fault and it will tell you on the charger. But it's quite tight here, but you can see right now the solar's flashing. It's got a solid light for the alternator and AGM. So what that means is the charger is currently charging with solar, because it's charging, because the charger has solar priority, but also the engine is off, so it shouldn't be charging from the alternator, or you have a problem and you can end up with a dead battery. So just be wary of that. The AGM battery you set from mode button when you're doing your initial setup. These little stickers they just come with a box and they're just helpful. And I'll just show you this as well. So this is the USB socket, cigarette lighters. For us, this is our fridge, and this part is the one we use for our fan. So we've got a little twin fan from JCar. This plug here is the one that I use for charging the system. So no, this one is the one for charging from the alternator, but this one charges through to the battery, if that makes sense. So this connects basically to your positive stud in here, and then there's a negative bus bar in here, and then they are both connected back to the battery here. And I'll just show you inside the box so you can see how these, so this is for the lights, so this is just some split tubing to protect the cables, but that cable runs up here and here. I'll try to hide it as much as possible, and it actually splits off, so there's 2. So I've got the 4 lights here, these dome lights, which I got from Campervan builders, actually really good. You just got a switch on here, you turn them on, off, but they also have this blue feature which has been really helpful at night, and this can also be dimmed, you know, brighter, darker, so pretty good. Goes here, USBs, cigarette lighter, and then the splicers I have the lights, so I've got 4 lights. Your longest run goes to the furthest away light, then these lights here just tap into that run, which is hidden by carpet here, and then they all come down into the control box at the other side. And the last light, which is a strip light at the back, just for lighting it up at the kitchen setup when it's dark. That light basically comes in the same bit back to the control box over there. So I've just isolated it here so I can open the box and you can have a look inside about how these switches are actually connected up and how they work. The switches actually came reversed, so when you press the bottom it would turn it off. So if you push this bottom bit down, it will turn it off, and then it's kind of not like a normal switch, so I just switch them around so that this is on, that's off, because that made more sense to me. So this is inside. It's a little bit of a cable mess. The way they sell them, they come with lots of cable ties which actually aren't very helpful, and the cable management becomes a bit cumbersome. And I mean, all you really need to make sure is that you've got enough room for your stuff, and if you could tidy it, great. As I said before, these have labels on them, so they tell you what they're for. You can see this green one here. Look at that. It says solar input, so you can see exactly where that's going to go. This stud here is your positive stud, so you can see the red cable's going here. This is your negative line, so black cable, negative stud. Also has a bus bar, so everything here is grounded, which makes connections a lot easier having a bus bar rather than these studs. But on this box, the way to connect additional stuff is through these switches, and the switches just work by essentially making a break in your positive line. So these ones that have a cable tie and they go up here actually go up to your fuse box, so you need to make sure you have the right fuse for each appliance. And as they make a break in the positive line, that switches off basically the supply of your current to whatever your appliance is. Now the reason I have blue wire in here and not just red and black for the appliances is I had some little spare blue wire basically, and it's sized for these appliances, so your lights are probably only going to need like 10 amp wire, and cigarette sockets up like 15 to 20. So this one is about 50 amp, so it worked pretty well for me. So I didn't see the point in just leaving it hanging with the setup, because it did come with the charging, but you don't need it if you don't have a smart alternator, so it's basically just useless wire. So I just repurposed it and saved me buying more cable. But as I said, you can see this is where the lights come from. You've got your black, red goes here, red current supplied to the fuse, so that, you know, any short circuit fuse, say that this one here is a blue cable, but I put red heat shrink on it, so you know it's the positive, and this one also goes the other light. The ones on this side are for the other side of the car, and as you can see they run up here because they run up here. You can't really see it because I've hit it quite well. They basically run up here, down here, underneath the wood, all the way across to the other side, and they are attached, so you can see the cable there, and they're attached to the other side where you plug them in, and you basically just, you could run them on the same line, but I've run them in two separate lines because I didn't have the high enough cable rating. So yeah, that is pretty much the setup. Hopefully this helps some people set up their own control boxes or isolators or setups in their vans. And this is a Peugeot Partner. And the only other thing to mention if you end up doing a similar vehicle is that the positive on Peugeot Partner oddly is black rather than red, so it's a little bit confusing. So make sure you use a multimeter and check. This bolt here is a grounding point, so you just put your red on this, black on this mounting point, and yeah, it should have, you know, your 12 volt, 13, whatever it's at. And yeah, this setup works pretty well, no issues whatsoever, and yeah, hope this was useful.